What's going on, and welcome back to another money saving gear hack. In this episode, we're going to be talking about hair ties. Now, when it comes down to it, hair ties are probably going to be one of the most adaptable pieces of equipment that you can have on your kit, and that's why it is going to be one of the biggest gear hacks, pro tips, and money savers that I have in this series. So with that said, there are a couple of things that I want to lead with up front so that way you can think about it throughout the entire video. One being, like I said, hair ties are super adaptable. You can set them up in any configuration, whether they're on your plate carrier, your mag panel, your belt, your gun, or things around the house. You have the ability to utilize hair ties for a lot of different things, and that's how they are super adaptable. The second is being a money saver. When it comes to tourniquets, there are a lot of pouches out there that you can save a lot of money on. Hair ties are going to only cost you a couple of dollars for like 50, or if you really want to, you can just go find your girlfriend's hair ties or your wife's hair ties and steal them from her. So take that into consideration, because then it saves you all the money when it comes down to it anyways. The second is going to be, or the third, I guess you could say, is going to be the organizational and snag hazard prevention aspect of it. Hair ties will be able to help store and keep things organized and tucked away, so that way they don't turn into snag hazards and get you caught up or snagged on something. Take it from my personal experience. When I was in Afghanistan a long time ago, I didn't have some stuff stowed and it got caught on a door of an MATV. I jumped out of the vehicle and I got stuck, and I ended up hanging from that door 3 or 4 feet off the ground. So thank God it wasn't in a firefight, otherwise that could have ended very poorly. So with that said, you do have the ability to utilize hair ties in that organizational and snag hazard prevention aspect. And then last but not least is going to be weather and environmental concerns or considerations. Rubber bands aren't going to hold up as well in hot and cold environments, and sun, rain, snow, shine, whatever the case may be, they're just not going to hold up. Where a hair tie isn't going to fray and break like your rubber bands. It will stand up to the heat. It will stand up to the cold, sun, rain, snow, shine. It's just going to be able to take the beating and stay where it needs to stay, and it's not going to break on you. So that is one of the really nice things about it, and things to think about when setting up your entire kit. So with that said, those are the big things that I want you to think about throughout the entire video, so that way you have some food for thought in setting up your own kit and how you want to set things up. So when it comes to everything that you have on the table right here and right now, you have your household stuff. If it's a power cable, or if it's a system that runs off power and has a power cable, you can utilize it to stow a lot of extra cabling for TVs, game systems, computer monitors, whatever the case may be. Any type of power system, you can stow all those cables, even extension cords, depending on how thick the extension cord is. But take that into consideration, because it is a great household item to have to be able to just stow stuff. So with that said, moving on for the actual tactical application and the kit aspect of all of this. When it comes to tourniquets, you have pouches that are out there that range from $10 to $40. They get expensive. And here's my first thought on it. Why have a pouch that's going to hold a tourniquet that you may have to open to be able to employ the tourniquet? Why not just attach the tourniquet to your kit, so that way you can employ it right away and you don't have to fight a pouch? Seconds matter, especially with a serious bleed. So hair ties are an easy answer to that. They hold the tourniquet right onto your kit and you don't have to worry about it. Front load them just so that way you don't have to worry about trying to find them, and then if you have to employ them or somebody else has to employ them because you're incapacitated, they're front and center. So take that into consideration. You can see that throughout some of the other videos that I'll have posted about the importance of having everything front loaded. So with that said, when it comes to tourniquets and the way that you can set these up, you can set them up both horizontally and vertically. Whether you want to set them up on the sides here, you just loop the hair tie through the molly like so, and you can either loop it on itself or you can just leave it like this. So you can loop it like I'll show you on the bottom of this plate carrier. You can loop it like that, or you can just leave it end on end or loop on either side. So you can set them up vertically on the side. I know guys that have SOPs on their teams and in their units and organizations where they set them up vertically on either side of their mag panel, so that way both of them are front loaded. And then I know guys that have the setup that I have right here where they're bound or center mounted on their kit at the bottom of their mag panel and on their belt, and you can set them up that way. So like you can see, you can loop it over that molly and then you just wrap it around the tourniquet. The same thing runs on the belt. You double loop it around the belt, so that way you have that contact and that security on the belt, and then you loop it once around the tourniquet on your belt. That way it just allows for easy employment. You can double loop it around them, but it can be a little bit harder to employ that tourniquet when you need it. So take that into consideration. The second part of this for your belt is for belt and straps. Whether it's on your belt or it's on a pack, you can utilize them to help stow those straps and keep everything nice and tidy, and that way you don't run into the risk of having snag hazards. That was kind of the scenario that I was talking about earlier. You want to prevent that from happening because it can end very poorly. So that's going to be kind of the kit aspect, at least for what you see on the table. I have a couple other things I'll talk about when it comes to commo and cabling, but I want to talk about the gun stuff real quick. Now, I prefer cord locks that you can get on Amazon running and stowing all of my cables. I just like the Velcro channel capacity, so that way it keeps everything nice and tidy, and that Velcro helps hold everything in place. But with that said, you still can use hair ties for this, and I don't want to devalue the hair tie on a rail system, because I know guys that do the same thing with hair ties, and they can store all their cablings all their cabling for their lights and their lasers and their pressure switches, so that way the investments that they have, sometimes with a very expensive pressure switch, it protects those cables from getting just left out in the open, and then they get caught in like a door frame or a handle or whatever, and then it rips the entire cable off of the light or laser and then out of the pressure switch. So take that into consideration. It is really nice to be able to utilize those hair ties for that cable retention on your rail system, as well as foliage and camouflage. I know a lot of guys, precision system snipers and all of that, they utilize hair ties and these tan ones to be able to camouflage their weapon system and have that foliage on their gun. So take that into consideration. It is a very key component that you can have on your rail and on your firearm to be able to one, keep things retained and organized and stowed, prevent that have that snag hazard prevention, as well as camouflage you and protect you from a threat. So that's everything on the table, and what I have next is going to be off the table, and I'll just pull it up, is your commo stuff. So when you're setting up commos, push-to-talks, cabling for different antenna systems and setups, whether you have a relocator or you have a body whip, whatever cabling that you have for your radio systems, you can utilize hair ties to help keep those cables organized and prevent that snag from happening, or have that snag hazard prevention. So with that said, really simple to do. You just run the hair tie straight through the molly like I was showing you earlier. Come on. Goes right through, and then you have a loop on either end. You just take this bottom end, you pull it up to the top, keeping that hair tie on the inside. You don't want it on the outside because it can turn into a snag hazard if you do that. You have it on the inside, so then that way it pulls whatever cables that you have onto the inside of the cummerbund, so that way it's pinched in between your cummerbund and your body, and then it prevents the cables from getting caught and snagged, because the last thing you want, and I've had this happen too, your cable gets snagged and caught on something in the environment, and then it pulls that cable out of the connector that is on your radio. And I've had it happen with a body whip, and I lost a $75 body whip because of the environmental stuff, and I didn't have things properly stowed. So take that from a lesson learned from me when it comes to why these are so important for cabling. You don't want your comms to go down because you don't have things stowed. So it is pretty simple. I do just have the cutaway system from the Cry system, and this cummerbund ran through there, so that way you can actually see what it looks like and how it's set up. So commo stuff and organizing cables is a big thing with that. And then last but not least, we have cleaning rods. I think having cleaning rods on your kit is a super key piece of equipment that you should always have, because I found more in training that a lot of guys, they'll be shooting a lot, chamber gets hot, or they're shooting bad ammo, whether it's steel cased or just reloaded brass and they haven't properly reloaded it, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of scenarios where I've seen this happen. A case ruptures inside of the chamber after the round's been fired, and it cracks, and then that casing gets stuck inside of the chamber. You can pull these cleaning rod sections off of your kit and then be able to run that down the barrel, punch that piece of brass out or steel casing out, and then be able to get your gun back up into the fight. So I have heard of scenarios real world in combat where it's happened, and guys had cleaning rods on their kit, and they were able to clear that malfunction and then get the gun back in the fight. So take that into consideration. I think it's a very important key thing. I have always ran 3 cleaning rod sections on my kit to be able to deal with any type of weapons malfunction like that. So with all of that said, this is everything that it comes down to when it comes to how this is a huge money-saving gear hack and the different things that you can adapt hair ties to. So if you have any questions, please feel free, leave a comment. We'll answer any questions that you have. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.